Go first with Mei Chin in Kuala Lumpur, and the first question she has is, how do you guard your heart? Okay, very, very good question, because sometimes we're affected by the people around us, or sometimes we get very negative and such, right? And it kind of spins out of control in our mind, and then we get into this deep pit of despair, and then we don't even start, right? One of the best ways, and I'm telling you this seriously right now, one of the best ways to control your heart is meditation or prayer. And I'm dead serious. This is actually proven as one of the best habits to get your mind strong. Now, one of the things you have to understand about meditation and also for prayer, these two things, when you really start to focus, when you start to meditate on a certain thing or pray on something, it actually ignites the prefrontal cortex. And what the most amazing part about this part here is, when you train this part a lot, it actually controls emotion. It controls emotion. See, the thing you have to understand is, when you get stressed, the prefrontal cortex shuts off and you're totally irrational. Haven't you ever had that? Like, I'm going to be very serious with you guys right now, because there's tons of stuff happening bad in America. When people get super, super angry, this front part shuts off, and then all of a sudden they start looting and rioting. It's crazy. Because this front part of reasoning and emotion shuts off, and all of a sudden you do crazy things. Haven't you experienced it before? When you're so upset or so sad, you either say something stupid or you do something stupid, right? One of the things to train your prefrontal cortex and to control your heart and your mind is to either meditate or pray. And this is something you should be doing daily. And I'm serious about this, more than once a day. But like I said, start small. 2 minutes. 1 minute, okay? And that's how you begin to start controlling your heart. All right, thank you. Good question, May. We'll go to the second person. It's Jim. Jim in PJ. And his question is, starting is a little easier for me, but finishing is harder. How do I finish well? Okay. So part of, like, when you say finishing is hard too, like I was talking about that at the very end, finishing is very difficult too. Because you have to keep that same mindset the entire way, even though there's a lot of setbacks and even though there's a lot of things that go wrong. Today I was watching YouTube and I was looking at an entrepreneur, and she was talking about all the difficulties in starting your own business from scratch. Whether it's no one supports you, whether people put you down, or whether you go through the ups and downs of, I don't have a good enough logo, I don't have good enough this, or maybe my product's not good enough, and you go through all these setbacks. But the one thing that has to remain the same is up here. This has to be the strongest part that we have more than anything else. Why? Because situations come and go, circumstances come and go, but your mind is a thing that goes through every single one of them. And two things advice I would give you is, number one is make it strong, like what May just asked. To guard your heart is to meditate and pray every single day. Make your heart strong so you can overcome those things. And the second thing is, you got to kind of take a look at what your expectations are. What are your expectations? Is it American movie syndrome? Or maybe your treasure is not the right treasure, right? So those are the two things that I would suggest you look at. Thank you, Jim, from PJ. Let's go into the next one. Next one is Su Wei. Su Wei from KL. Su Wei from KL. And Su Wei says, you said temporary things lead to temporary results. Is it okay to have these temporary goals and results? And the answer is yes. Okay? But we got to remember what that is. A temporary goal is a temporary goal. And what that means is, if it's temporary, that means it's a step towards something else. Right? It's got to be a step towards something else. It cannot be the only step. Temporary results are fine, but it should be leading towards something greater, and that is not temporary, right? Whether it's a state of mind, whether you want to be happy, joyful, have peace in your heart, like it has to lead to something greater than that, right? That's why these are just steps. After you finish this step, you don't need that step anymore, and you're moving to the next step, right? Which means that it's a very temporary goal. So I step on this goal, and then I move to the next one. Once I move over, that step is no longer necessary. Right? It is all leading towards something bigger and bigger. So as long as that's not the only thing, it's okay. Yeah, we're all going to have temporary goals that lead towards a bigger treasure. Okay? Thank you, Su Wei. Shinky in Singapore. All right, a question from Singapore. He asks, how do we keep motivated after starting? All right. So, keeping motivated after starting, one of the things you have to know about the human mind is the human mind loves progress. Okay? So, if you think about video games, do you know why kids love video games so much? Because you're tracking progress even along the way. So you're like starting at this and you got to get to the boss level, right? But along the way, you're leveling up. Leveling to level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. New weapon, upgraded your weapon. And by the time you get to the final boss, you've upgraded like 20 times. The one thing about your brain is your brain loves progress. And when you get progress, you get more excited. I'll give you an example. Example is this. Where am I sitting? I'm sitting in a place where I have this nice yellow couch behind me with the blue wall. But what is it? It's exciting because for us, we have a nice green screen here. So once we get the green screen, it's like, oh, progress. Oh, wow. And we get excited. And then we start looking at like 50,000 different backgrounds of what to do for every single show. That's what we do, right? Because it's exciting. You get a new camera, you get new mics, you get new everything. And what happens is exciting in the beginning and we see progress happen, right? In the same way, you have to understand is, when you're doing something, it's kind of connected to what Sue was saying. You need temporary goals along the way. Those temporary things that like, look, we did this. Oh, wow, we made that first goal. Oh, we made the second goal. Oh, we made the third goal. And you want to have a progress chart, or you want to chart your progress of how far you come, right? When it comes to like fundraising, when you fundraise, you have goals. Hey, within our first target is $1,000. Second target is $5,000. Third target is $10,000. But your eventual goal is $50,000. But you have targets along the way, and what happens is it's exciting. Like, oh, we hit the first one. You have a pizza party. Then you go to the next one. Oh, it's exciting. Then you do it again and again and again and again, right? So we have to realize while you're doing something to keep yourself motivated, you can't just do it on willpower alone. But part of the thing in your brain is it's like everyone needs that dopamine shot. Because once you complete something, there's a dopamine that fires in your brain and you feel good about yourself, right? And that's one of the things you need to do. You need to kind of chart your progress. And as you progress and upgrade, it's so much better. You're like, oh, we're getting somewhere. But if no one says anything and you just keep doing something without any idea of how close or how far you are from the end goal, it feels like there is no ending. And that's when people quit. Okay? Thank you, Shinky, for that question. We have another question from Hannah Neo. Hannah Neo on YouTube. Okay. Hannah Neo. Sounds like a Korean word. Either way, right? Hannah Neo. Hannah Neo says, how do you start liking someone you greatly dislike? Wow. Okay. I'm going to give you 2 to 3 different types of advice, but I'm going to give you some good advice here is this. Regardless if you're in the same company, in the same church, in the same family, in the same whatever it is, you don't have to be best friends with everyone. You don't. For some reason, like especially because I worked in a lot of churches before, and now that I do a lot of leadership talks and such, some people have this notion in their mind that they have to be best friends with everyone, like so close. You don't. You don't. Like even in the world, no one has like 35 best friends. No one has that many best friends. You have like 1 or 2. If your expectation is to be that close to them, it's not going to work. You don't have to be best friends with everyone, right? Sometimes some people just be cordial, be polite, and have manners, right? To like someone doesn't mean best friends. To like someone doesn't even mean to be good friends. And it's not your fault, and it's not their fault. Why? It's just sometimes characters don't match. But it doesn't mean you have to be best friends. Or don't expect yourself to be like, oh, I have to go eat with them every week, and then we're going to do each other's nails, and then we're going to do, I'm only saying this because Hannah's a girl, right? And then we're going to do each other's eyebrows, and then we're going to do this together. No, you don't have to do all those things. Part of it is your expectation of what your end goal with this person is. Because if it's someone you don't really like, but you said greatly dislike, if you're thinking about greatly liking them, it is way too far away. And you don't have to. That's one of the expectations you shouldn't have. Best friends are far and few. A best friend, someone close to you could say everything to, very far and few. And you don't need to be best friends with everyone. You don't even need to be good friends with everyone. But we should love each other. Love meaning respect each other, right? We're not going to say bad things about them. You don't want to give bad thoughts about them, but you just want to be cordial and have manners. Yeah, you don't have to, if your expectation is too far to the side, it's never going to work. So for you, Hannah, if it's someone you greatly dislike, I think their goal is, if they've done something wrong to you, is to reach a level of forgiveness, but that doesn't mean you're going to be best or good friends. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I just hope you don't have that expectation, because a lot of times when I meet people who ask the exact same question as you, their expectation of how close they have to be is much further than even regular people they meet more often. You know what I mean? But it's just like when you meet people on the street, you don't have to make best friends with everyone. You don't. Okay? I hope that helps you out, Hannah. Let's go to Joanne. Joanne in KL. Now, Joanne in KL says, I started something during lockdown and it was terrible. Oh, wow. I find it really hard to go on because it doesn't feel satisfying, like I'm wasting time. Okay. So what I'm going to tell you is, I don't know exactly what it is. Like, I'm sure it's not like dealing drugs or something like that, or doing drugs. I'm pretty sure it isn't, right? But it really, some things you will know looking at the result of why you even started it. Everything is hard along the way, but you should also have a good grasp of who you are. And if you know who you are, and you know the things that you like or don't like, sometimes it's better to just move to something else. But then the thing I don't want to do is, I don't want you to get into the habit like you'll be like, oh, I don't like this either, and then you just keep moving from place to place. My big suggestion is, no matter what it is, you should at least have some, what's that word? Some final, what's that word? Final. All right, people got to help me out on the internet. What is it? Closure. That's it, closure, right? You need to have closure with things. So even if you might not be able to finish it at 90, 100%, I would still finish it, right? So that you didn't kind of just leave it at what it was, unless it's something very unhealthy for you, right? Because some things are not satisfying until the end. Some things are not satisfying until you realize later, oh my gosh, it was so worth it, right? So I don't know exactly what it is, because I don't know if it's healthy or unhealthy or how unsatisfying it really is. But usually in my mind, it's really, really good for you guys to finish something and have closure with it, just so it's done, It's almost like making a painting halfway. It's like, I don't want to do this anymore. You might as well finish it, even if it's going to be at 50 or 60%, for the sake of finishing, right? So I'm not sure, it's a kind of a vague question, but I don't know exactly what it is either. But because some things are satisfying, and they end up not being that good in the end, and some things are unsatisfying, but end up very satisfying in the end. Some things we should do, and some things we shouldn't. And it would really depend on what you are doing or what you started. Okay? Cool. Thank you, Joanne. I believe that was the last question for today. I'm very grateful and thankful for all of you joining us here on Bubble Talk. I think it's the 16th Bubble Talk we've done. So it's been like 4 months already. Yeah, so I think it's the 16th Bubble Talk. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. And I hope that even from tonight, that many of you will take the first steps in starting something new. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening and the rest of the weekend. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.